So here in the United States, it's Thanksgiving week. And again, I'm talking about gratitude. I've looked back and I know I've done this at least twice before, probably more, mentioned it more as we've been going into our introductions to Corner of Calm. But the thing about gratitude, beside it being Thanksgiving week here in the United States, is that if when we get that right, when we absolutely can get sort of like find ourselves in an ongoing grateful state, everything changes. I mean, that might be the one thing that if everybody really did do it, might change the world. Um, because it rewires what we notice and how we respond to things. And the more we practice something, the more and expect things start showing up. Um, Somebody today in another webinar was talking about all of a sudden realizing that she always got parking spaces, for example. I mean, and that's an example of like an expectation that just you end up living into and it happens. And with gratitude, it's our seeing of the world and how that sort of comes up. There's, and going through the basic practice, I started with just naming 5 things every morning as part of my waking up process that I was grateful for from the day before. I just listed them. It was always 5. It was always something from the day before. Um, I have a friend that just is posting every day that she's thankful she woke up in the morning, but I'm talking about, more specific things or different specific things. Um, I have a friend, Scott Mills, who talks about that not really working. I don't know that I agree with him, but one of the things he suggests is picking something that you can expand on. That when you actually can talk about something for 1, 2, 3 minutes about why it's important, why you're grateful, it like really sinks it in and brings you into that particular place. But I'd like to suggest an extension of that, I think. And it's based on something that happened yesterday. I was riding along, as you know, I do public transportation, which is another little thing that you can do to change the world, et cetera, et cetera. But I was riding around and I was okay. And as some of you know, I really have a great relationship with trees. I love trees. And I looked out and all of a sudden there was this fabulous tree whose trunk of branches was just sort of, I don't know, just bending in exactly the right ways so that it just it drew me into it. I didn't get a picture of it. I couldn't get a picture of it, but it was like it was just there. And from that, I started looking at other trees and seeing how they are so individual and so present and so whatever. And I was full of this connection with these trees. And I thought, no. So I kept looking a little more and I realized I could do the same thing with the people walking by. The weird guy that was dressed completely strangely, whatever strange looks like to you, and the young mom and the Asian lady with a lot of baskets. And it was I was grateful for that whole thing. But what was really interesting was that later in the day, and I was going along again, I looked out the window and I could get back that same gratitude, that same connection, or I did get back without even looking for it. So I'm suggesting that there's an extension of how we do gratitude where it's almost like I like the term tag team, but you're sort of like, but there's always a thread. So where can you find a thread in what your gratitude is doing as you go through the next few days? It could be around family. It could be how much you love them. It could be the fact that nobody's killing each other. I don't know. But it's pieces around that, or even the fact that that one actually looks like me. Or it's so great that they love each other, even though I don't understand a word they're saying. I'm just suggesting that you play with the threads of where something that you notice takes you. And I invite you into that part of gratitude for the same thing. And so thank you for doing this with me.